LSU, what makes them a national title contender? Well, after going 8-4 last year in the regular season, 9-4 overall after they won a bowl game in the Texas Bowl versus Baylor. What makes them special? Well, they beat the likes of South Carolina and Ole Miss last year. That's about it. But they lost to USC in a neutral site, at Texas A&M. They lost to Alabama at home, and they lost at Florida. So how could they be a national title contender? First, 3 of those losses were in a row versus consecutive great teams in difficult locations. And Brian Kelly has a very favorable SEC schedule, and he has Garrett Nussmeier back at quarterback. That is how they can get it done. Plus, all the other guys. Say what you want about BK, but he can do wonders when he has an experienced quarterback. Going back to Central Michigan, I remember when he was there with Dan Lefevre, who should have won the Heisman over the God-fearing guy from Florida. What's his name? He almost won it twice. Tim Tebow. Yes, that guy. Lefevre should have won. Go look at his stats and what he did with Central Michigan. I tell you what. Anyway, Brian Kelly is now at LSU, left Notre Dame to be at LSU, and he thinks he can win a title there. I think he can too this season. It's possible. I'm not saying he's going to. Predictions come later. But this is one of the, I think this is team number 11 on my National Title Contender series. And BYU was my dark horse, and now BYU is forcing Rett's Claff to transfer because he had admitted sexual relations with and he wasn't married. It wasn't rape, but still he has to go. Uncle Lou did a great video on that. You should go check that out. But yeah, it was a dark horse. Now that he's gone, probably BYU from the Big 12 is not going to get there. Arizona State was a national title contender from the Big 12 for me. So there are 11 of them. And I plan on doing one more after LSU, so you have to stay tuned. But this one is all about LSU. And in the backfield, Garrett Nussmeier is back. At quarterback, he will be a senior, 6'2", 200 pounds. So not slight. He was 337 of 525 completions versus passes. 64%, not too bad, for 4,052 yards. Only 7.7 average per completion, though. So a dink and dunk kind of a guy, but man, does he have weapons coming up this season. He had 29 touchdowns to 12 interceptions last year. He needs a great offensive line and run game. So who is coming back or incoming? This LSU team has brought in a lot of transfers this season. At running back, you have Caden Durham, who had 140 carries last season for 753 yards, a 5.4 average. He had 6 rushing touchdowns. He also had 28 catches for 260 yards, a 9.3 average, and 2 touchdowns. This guy did all that as a freshman. He'll be a sophomore this upcoming season, 5'9", 205 pounds. So a pinball guy that kind of reminds me maybe the body type of Blake Corum, which would be great for them. Running back Caleb Johnson's going to be a junior. He had 44 carries for 150 yards. That's only a 3.4 average, but he, at 235, he's more of the fullback, short yardage type. He gets touchdowns. So, he's pretty good. He'll get touchdowns. He's pretty good. battering ram. So in the backfield, that's what that is. And they're behind the offensive line that is going to be pretty young. This offensive line is very young, but it has waited its turn, and it is very, very talented. You have left tackle Tyree Adams, who's going to be a junior. He is 6'7", 310 pounds. He had 2 starts last year. At left guard, Paul Mabenga is going to be a junior, 6'5", 315 pounds. 5 starts last year with 10 appearances for LSU. At center, working from left to right here as always, DJ Chester is going to be a junior, 6'6", 320 pounds. Started all 13 games last year. And then at right guard, Cohen Eccles is going to be a sophomore, a 6'3", 316 pound player that appeared in 5 games as a freshman last season. And then right tackle Weston Davis is a sophomore, going to be a sophomore as well, 6'6", 317 pounds. And he appeared in 4 games and redshirted last year. Didn't play in that 5th game, so he got to red shirt. So really, he's a redshirt freshman. The years that I go by, recruiting and all that stuff, now that everyone can just move and go everywhere and all that, really doesn't matter much to me anymore. When I give you a junior, sophomore, I'm just cut and dry. That's how many years that they've been there. I don't know, I don't always put in the red shirt or if they're a graduate, what have you. They're there. They're going to help your team. That's the offensive line. Who will Nussmeier be throwing to in 2025? They brought in 2 key transfers, and we're going to start with those. From Oklahoma, Nick Anderson came in. He's going to be a senior, 6'4", 219 pounds. Did not play last year, but he had 38 catches for 798 yards the year before. That's a 21-yard average. And he had 10 touchdowns in 2023. Wide receiver Barian Brown is going to be a senior coming in from Kentucky, 6'1", 182 pounds. He had 29 catches for 361 yards. That's a 12.4 average and 3 touchdowns. And then you got 3 more wide receivers that are going to be seniors that have stayed with the Tigers. Aaron Anderson, 5'8", 187 pounds, had 61 catches last year at that slot spot, 884 yards. That's a 14.5 average and 5 touchdowns in his own right. Chris Hilton Jr. is going to be a senior, 6', 192, had 9 catches for 243 yards. That's a 27-yard average. They cut people off guard with those 9 catches. He had 3 touchdowns on those 9 catches. Wide receiver Xavier Thomas is going to be a senior, 5'10", 195 pounds. He had 23 catches for 218 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had 9 carries for 84 yards on the ground, both almost 10 yards per clip, receiving and running. And then you got a pretty good tight end that had 13 catches last year as a freshman, Trey'Dez Green. He is 6'7", 245 pounds. He had 4 receiving touchdowns, so he is a red zone threat. He had 13 catches, 4 touchdowns. That's a 7.8 average because he only had 101 yards. But man, the red zone threat. So under Kelly and Joe Sloan, the offensive coordinator for LSU, I expect this offense to be prolific. And I expect Nussmeier to up his game, and it's not going to be a 7.7 yard average per completion. That's going up. So what's the defense look like under Blake Baker, the defensive coordinator? Well, there's a lot of noteworthy players here to talk about for LSU. There's a lot of great players here, and I know that they have talent. Recruiting classes, as I say, I don't follow them as much anymore, but they have stacked up for LSU. They're pretty good. So the depth is there. You have a lot of grown men, a lot of seniors on this defense. But they have waited their turn a little bit. Now they need to explode, and I think they will. Jack Pyburn at defensive end, a senior, is transferred in from Florida. 6'3", 265 pounds. He had 60 tackles, a sack, and an interception for the Gators last year. Now he's with the Tigers. Another defensive end transferred in, Patrick Payton, another going to be senior from Florida State. So the Seminoles, you got one of those from Florida. 6'5", 250 pounds, had 35 tackles and 4 sacks. And then defensive end Jamari Butler is a graduate coming in from Nebraska. 6'5", 260 pounds, 22 tackles and 2 sacks. Defensive tackle Ahmad Braille. It's one of them French with the X at the end names. Sophomore. As a freshman, he had 17 tackles. This guy is 6'3", 285 pounds. I'm sure he's bigger and more physical than that now. These are the listed times or weights and heights. So, probably from the end of last year. Nobody updates their stuff because no one wants to tell everybody that we have a monster here that has grown into something. But defensive tackle, Bernard Gooden is back. He's going to be a senior. He is 6'1", 280 pounds. He had 35 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, and 2 pass breakups as a junior. All right, linebacking core. So the defensive line is pretty deep. There were other names on here that didn't quite qualify to be mentioned as far as production goes, but the defensive line looks pretty damn good for LSU, and now the linebacking core looks pretty good as well. At middle linebacker, you have Whit Weeks back, who's going to be a junior. 6'2", 228 pounds, but he had 120 tackles last year, 3.5 sacks, and an interception and 4 pass breakups from the middle of that defense. And then Davon Keys will back him up at the middle linebacker position, has plenty of experience as a freshman last year, 6 foot, 230 pounds, 31 tackles, 1.5 sacks, an interception for a touchdown, and 3 other pass breakups. At will, Harold Perkins Jr., in 2023, had a really good season. Last year, not so much, only 16 tackles, assuming he was nicked up, injured. But he's going to be a senior, 6'3", 234 pounds. And then we go to the nickelback position. We're working our way back in this defense, and you have some mainstays. Like I said, they got to prove themselves, get better. Tamarcus Cooley is going to be a junior, 5'11", 205 pounds. He had 39 tackles, 1 sack, and 6 pass breakups. Couple of corners have production coming back for you. Ashton Stamps, the junior, 6 foot, 190, 50 tackles, and 12 pass breakups. So he can't get his hands on the ball. No interceptions, but he did break up 12 passes. Mansour Delane is a transfer coming in from Virginia Tech. He's going to be a senior. 6'1", 185 pounds. He had 54 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 4 interceptions, and 7 pass breakups. So of the 11 opportunities he got, he took it away 4 times. And then at free safety, A.J. Halsey is going to be a senior transferred in from Houston. 6 foot, 215 pounds. He had 74 tackles, 5 interceptions, and 7 pass breakups. And then strong safety Jordan Gilbert is going to be a senior, 6'1", 197, had 52 tackles at the back end. The last fail-safe of the defense, he tackled everybody. He had an interception and 2 pass breakups. So the team is loaded with talent, production, and upper class experience. That is the criteria for a national title contender lately. Can't just throw in a bunch of freshmen and expect that they're going to win unless you're Ohio State. What's the wide receiver's name? It's slipping my mind, but yeah. And then they got Caleb Downs. Alabama with their Jeremiah Love last year won some games, but you have to have experience, and that leads to depth nowadays. Alabama back in the day just stacked classes, and then if a freshman competed with one of the 5 stars that was going to go pro, that made them even better. Nowadays, it's a little bit harder to have all these freshmen that can show what they can do versus other teams. Maybe they come in and start for some teams, but that just means that they don't have the experience and the talent at the top of that position group to compete anymore. So I digress. We're going to talk about LSU's schedule here. So how do they go from 9-4 to a national title contender? Their win total is 8-5. I bet the over immediately on that once that came out. Their schedule is as follows. They start at Clemson. And right away, I think they're going to lose. Clemson with Klubnik coming back at quarterback, Dabo Sweeney, Garrett Riley on their offense. Man, this is going to be a close game, tight. It's a toss-up, but I went with Clemson. They are another national title contender, one of the teams. So no shame in losing that game early, first week. It's not an SEC game. But then you have it, Louisiana Tech at home, and that's a win. Florida at home. Listen, I know Florida went 8-5 last year and surpassed what some people thought they could do. I thought they would go 8 wins or better. I picked the over for them last year. I think I picked the over for them this year. They're going to be a damn good team. But you're going to win that game at home. And then you have Southeast Louisiana. That's a win. Excuse me. Then you're at Ole Miss. And Lane Kiffin is not the scary mad magician that he used to be. That is a win for you as well. I like your roster. You're going to go there. It's not that far away. It's a win. Then you get your bye, too. So no looking ahead to anybody. You just got to win that Mississippi game. South Carolina is at home after your bye. That is awesome for you. Schedule sets up nice. That's a win. At Vanderbilt, Pavio or whatever, the quarterback there, I don't think is going to scare you at all. I think that's a win. Texas A&M is at home. That sets up perfect too. They were 8-5 last year. People think they could be a dark horse in the SEC. I don't see it. In this game, you're going to beat them. Then you get your second bye before you have Alabama on the road, and you lost to them at home last year. And this is another national title contender team. Alabama is. You're going to lose there. So that's your second loss is all, though. You have Arkansas, Western Kentucky, and at Oklahoma to end the season. That one at the end, Venables, maybe they could be pretty good. I think Michigan's going to ruin their season in week 2. Maybe not ruin, but slow it down drastically. And Oklahoma is going to invite you in there maybe without a pulse there at the end of the season. So that is a win for LSU as well. So the schedule sets up nice. That is 10-2 is what I have as of right now for LSU. And why wouldn't that get into the college football playoff? We'll see if it is, because one of the losses were out of conference. One was in conference. So I'm going to do my conference predictions and then playoff predictions coming up here shortly. I have one team left, and I'm surprised that Ohio State hasn't been on there yet, and there are no Buckeyes in the comment section asking where the hell are they. It could be Iowa State. It could be Miami, who I haven't done yet. Who is the team? Because BYU is out now, so there's a spot for another Power 4 team. Which one is it as of right now? And then the group of 5 representative, maybe Notre Dame. They've already been part of this series as well. So, man, it's going to be exciting. A lot of good teams here going into 2025. I cannot wait for the season to start. 50 days away, almost. 51, I think, today. 50 tomorrow. Let's go, baby. I love it. What do you guys think about LSU? Can BK finally do it? Can he all finally get down there in the bayou? Or however his introductory press conference went. He was fake then. I think he's being himself now, and we'll see what the Tigers can do. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night out there.